Hello, everybody. Eric here, and once again, it's time to talk about F. Paul Wilson's Secret History of the World. Today, we're talking about The Last Christmas, a Repairman Jack novel. Excuse me. As usual, I'll do a review, and then we'll get into how it connects with the Secret History of the World, and we'll get a little spoilery there. I try to avoid spoilers in the review part. So we'll start off with a little nutshell. It is December. Jack's feeling a little down because of some bad things that happened the previous December. And he doesn't feel like taking on any fix-it jobs, but he is hired to track down an animal. And because there's a GPS tracker and everything, he agrees to do it, maybe get out of his funk. And then the next day, he is hired to protect this item. And again, not something he would normally do, but he ends up doing it. So he's got sort of a fix and a thing going on in December. And that's a good enough nutshell, right? We know that's his job. We know what he's doing. All right, so I guess first of all, let's get this out of the way. For the too long didn't watch crowd, I gave this 5 out of 5. I absolutely loved it. One of my favorite in the series, and it is one of the most recent in the series, recently written. Where is the copyright page? This is from Give Me a Date, 2019. That is the copyright on this one. Excuse me, and it slots right in to the series. So, yeah, I really, really liked this one. We're introduced to a brand new character. I don't think he's shown up anywhere else. His name is, I don't know the pronunciation. I pronounced it in my head as I was reading it. I pronounced it Tier Hill. And he is a private investigator of indigenous American roots. He's a Mohawk. He was in the army in Afghanistan. He's back in the States. He's a private investigator. And he's been hired to follow this woman. He is told that she has stolen something. He needs to find out where she has it. So that's kind of going on. But I really love this character. And we'll get back to him in a second. And then Jack, as I said, he's been in this funk. We start with a memorial service that he and Gia are having. And then he gets a call from an old pal from the first Repairman Jack book that says, hey, these guys have a job for you. Jack's not interested, but then decides he'll go ahead and do it. And he's told he's tracking down an animal, but of course, this is a Repairman Jack book. There's more to it than that. There's so much more going on. I will say that this is the second time in just a few weeks where on one page I was thinking one thing, and then the very next page completely changed what I was thinking. And in this case, when Jack takes this job from these two guys to track this animal, I was like, all right, well, this kind of feels like it's going to be a sort of a standalone Jack story. Obviously, we've got characters and references and things for the overall Secret History of the World stuff going on, but it seems like this case, it's going to be sort of a random case, get him out of his funk. Immediately, the next page, boom, solid ties to one of the other books. Absolutely not a random case. But I like that. I like how it's all coming together. And there's some stuff going on with Tier, however you say his name, is going to come up in another book. I'm not going to say what until we get to the spoilery part, but I am going to look at some things. Excuse me. So, this seems very, very rambly. It's well written. It's F. Paul Wilson. It's great characters. Jack's a great character. We've got Gia. We've got Abe. But we've got these new characters that are very interesting. Madame de Medici, however you say that. And this Thierry Hill, I really, really like his character. And the case with the missing animal, I'm trying not to spoil things, but it tugged at my heartstrings. It tugged. I might have gotten misty-eyed. So, absolutely recommended. I think this is maybe a little more standalone. Again, there are plenty of references to things and characters and from other books in this whole secret history of the world. But I think there's enough here that you could read this without having read all of the other stuff. I think it might make you want to read the other stuff. But you could probably, I don't think you'd be too confused. But 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely terrific story. If you have any questions, I know that was rather rambly, but I'm still trying to avoid spoilers in this part. So if you have any questions about anything, obviously, let me know in the comments below. Jack takes 2 jobs. He does those 2 jobs. We have great characters, great writing, great thrills and scares and emotion. There you go. Now, let's get into the secret history part. So, first of all, as always, we're going to go to Signals here with the most up-to-date list that I have of the timeline. And so the last Christmas takes place in December of year 0-1, which of course means the last year before the end of the world as we know it, which is going to take place in May of year 0. So basically, barely 6 months left. If we're counting the last Christmas and December, we're looking at 6 months. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more things to read. And I have kept my promise so far and kept churning these out. So, it's December. In the previous December, we had this memorial. By the way, again, if I need to say it again, spoilers now. So the memorial service that Jack and Gia are having are for Jack's father and brother. His father is absolutely dead. His brother, they don't know because of what happened. His brother sacrificed himself to save Jack, but they don't know what that entails. And so Jack's down in the dumps, and he meets up with Burke at Julio's. And Burke is the guy that sets him up with his very first case in the tomb. And so he's come to Jack with something else. Hey, there's a couple guys. They need someone discreet, blah, blah, blah. Jack's not interested. But he ends up taking the case, obviously. And the thing that got me, so, as I said, I'm reading. Jack's decided to take the case. I'm like, all right, maybe this is going to be a little standalone-ish. I turn the page. We've got these 2 guys talking about how they fooled this guy that's taken their case. And it mentions Melis, which is straight up the stuff from the Void Protocol. I don't remember and so immediately I'm like, all right, well, it just straight up ties into the Void Protocol, which is part of the Ice trilogy. And so there we go. And then this woman who's being followed by Thierry Hill, I really hope I have his last name correct, Madame de Medici, however you say it, she has again, spoilers, folks. She is one of the 7 Infernals. This guy has hired Hill to get it from her because he says she stole it. And the 7 Infernals are these things, and one of which was the cause of Jack's brother's sacrifice. And they have powers, and they're ancient. And she, Madame de Medici, again, don't know how you say it properly. I'm trying to remember if she's been mentioned before. I don't recall because I took too long to read all these. But I really like her character. And we do have, I didn't mention this in one of the other ones, we have Glaken, however you say his name, the main character from The Keep. And so he's in this, he's been in the past few. And we have the lady. We finally learned eventually who Jack has been running into a woman and a dog. A different woman, different dog every time. We've learned finally who this woman is. And there's something going on there. I'm not going to spoil everything. But the lady is in here. And so all of this stuff just swirling around. And then there's something going on with Mr. Hill, our tracker, private investigator, that straight up has to be leading into this. Signals, which is the penultimate. Yes, this is the penultimate book before Night World. And I'm trying not to look at the back cover because I'm not reading back covers anymore if I can avoid it. So there's stuff happening in here that it's crazy if it's not leading directly into this. So huge, strong ties between this and a lot that's going on. Except there are ties, there are things that aren't happening. Things that aren't being mentioned or haven't been mentioned in a couple of books. The pregnant teen. The Septimus Order has been mentioned. They're barely mentioned in here because Wheezy from Jack's past and from Ground Zero, she and her brother are in here. Just a tiny bit. They're at the memorial service. The Book of Srem is in here. And we learn some things about that. A lot of stuff. It's, even though I said earlier that I think you could read this standalone-ish, there are going to be things that would make you question if you haven't read all the other stuff. But there's still enough, I think, that you could read it on its own. But man, so much stuff, and not even everything. We've got Mellis, we've got Glaken, the lady, the signals, but again, not the pregnant girl, not really the Septimus Order, or the Kickers, or the other cult that's basically Scientology, that I can't think of their name right now. And no appearance from the adversary. So much going on. So much going on. But it's all coming together. And it's all building. We've only got basically 5 months left. Let's see. And so there is next technically is a short story, Pelts, which I have the book that's in, but I'm not doing the short stories and stuff right now. So next up is Reprisal, which is an adversary book, if I'm not mistaken. And then that ends in February. Don't know when it starts because I haven't read it yet. And then Fatal Error, which is Repairman Jack. The Dark at the End, which is Repairman Jack. That's February and March. And then we jump to May with Signals, which says The Adversary Cycle, a prelude to Night World. And then Night World which I believe on the cover says it's Repairman Jack and the Adversary Cycle. So that's what's coming up. Reprisal is next, and I'll be digging into that as soon as I finish the book I'm reading now. I would be waiting a little longer. Side note, in just a few days, Stephen King's new book, Holly, comes out, and I have been eagerly anticipating this book because Holly Gibson is my favorite Stephen King character, but work has been incredibly slow, and I cannot spare the money picking up Holly, so it's going to have to wait. But that just means I'm getting back to The Secret History of the World that much sooner. Anyway, that's all neither here nor there. What it all comes down to is The Last Christmas is 5 out of 5 stars. A fantastic book. A slightly standalone-ish, but with a lot of things tying into other things. I'm really excited to get through the rest of this. So there you go. The Last Christmas, F. Paul Wilson. I think that's all I have to say about that. So if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for even more spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. And if you're on Blue Sky, I am @EL Smith. That's all I have for you this time. So until next time, read more books.